The Finger Lakes region of New York State is perhaps best known for its wineries, but down here in Watkins Glen, New York, there's something bigger and better than all the wineries in the state, and it is Watkins Glen International, the 2.45-mile road course here in upstate New York. And Finian, it puts on a heck of a show every time we come here. Yeah, I know. It's never disappointed for us, and it's a fun track to watch, and it's only an hour and a half away from where we're actually broadcasting this race from right now. So it's pretty much a home track for both of us, and it should be a fun race to watch here tonight. Well, we have the point standings here. We're on race 11 for Virtual Racing League, and this is a one-off event we're doing for them to pick up their other broadcaster here tonight. But let's take a look at the point standings real quick before we get into some stuff. Yeah, so Eric Hutton is currently in the lead, but shortly behind is Jordan Ashland, who's only 5 points behind, so it's very close in the points fight. Elliot Butler, is 45 points behind. Mark Emerson, 69 points, and then you're rounding up your top five is Reggie Ortega, and 70 points behind. All right, and of course we got some new names to work with here tonight, so forgive us on that. But let's talk to Eric Hutton here in the driver of the number that 88 car, and we'll get a word from him real quick. Hey, Eric Hutton, Kyle Hire from the SimTV booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
All right, buddy. Well, you're leading the point standings here heading into round 11 at Watkins Glen International, and obviously this is a little bit of a challenge for drivers here this week, rights and lefts on a fast and grippy racetrack. What are you expecting out of the evening here tonight?
Well, I think really your goal was just to survive the race, and we got a bunch of grip, so it's going to give guys a lot of confidence. And so I think if you can survive the turn one restart here at the beginning, you should be set. Hopefully you guys will take it easy and give respect. All right, and we're looking forward to this race here this evening, broadcasting this for the Virtual Racing League. But what's your favorite corner on this place? Because I'm partial to turn one. I think it's one of the most important corners on the racetrack. But is there any corner here that you're particularly good at or particularly enjoy driving? Yeah, I think with a lot of grip, going through the S's is really fun. You really, even though you have a bunch of grip, you really got to set it up just right, because you can either underdrive it, or if you overdrive it, it'll push you up into the wall at the top of the hill. I think turn one's really crucial, like you said. I don't know if it's my favorite. It's been kind of challenging, but I think if you hit that right and go through the S's, it really sets you up for a good lap. All right, Eric, thanks for talking to us, and good luck in the race. Hey, thanks, guys. All right, Finian. So with that concluded, the drivers are going to be in their drivers meeting here shortly. We have a new segment here tonight. We've been extremely excited to bring this 3D track map. This is a new thing that we're hopefully going to roll out to more tracks in the near future, but let's take a look at what it takes to be fast around Watkins Glen International. Zooming in on the upstate portion of New York State, down to the Finger Lakes at the south tip of Seneca Lake lies Watkins Glen International, a 2.45-mile road course here, 7 turns around this great racetrack. Yeah, it's a pretty short configuration compared to the long one that most other series use when they come here. First section down the front straightaway leading into a fast and sharp right-hand turn. And Finian, this is a very tricky corner, and what happens a lot here is wheel hop. You watch these the right rear tire bouncing here in this next shot, and this is extremely tricky to get the car wound down, downshifting without bouncing those rear tires. You can see here the tachometer bouncing and the wheels sliding around in your hands. Very tricky to get down 120 feet up to the top of the S's. Yeah, a lot of elevation change. It can really get the car squirrely, especially at the top there as the car tops out. 180, 190 miles an hour. You see here, this is the fastest portion of the racetrack, second to fourth gear through turns 2, 3, and 4, leading onto a fast and wild back straightaway. Like I said, 190 miles an hour, top of fourth gear, engine revving all the way down to the inner loop. Yeah, and here we got probably one of the biggest passing zones, the inner loop here, as you can see, going through their very tight turns. Up and over the tall curbs, you have to really attack them, get all 4 tires in the air. This is an extremely important area of the racetrack to be aggressive. And if you don't get those curbs just right, you're not going to be the fastest on the track. Yeah, next part here, we go through the carousel. Pretty rhythm section here. You can't be too early on your apex, can't be too late. It takes a very consistent and calm line. And you have to be very, like getting a late apex here is important to get a nice launch onto this back straightaway. Not a fourth gear straightaway. A lot of drivers will leave it in third all the way to the top of third gear, let it hit the limiter and down to the fast left-hander, turn 6. Yeah, this is really a matter of just getting your rhythm here and not messing up these 2 corners, as a lot of guys will end up over braking. And turn 7, of course, very important to lead yourself back onto the front straightaway. Again, a third gear front straightaway here at Watkins Glen International, but a beautiful 7-turn road course here at upstate New York, and that is SimTV's track analysis here for Watkins Glen. But as the drivers are in the meeting here this afternoon, we're going to look down at all the cars on pit lane. You see, that's the 78 of Chris Gutierrez there, sitting on the point right now, but certainly about 9th in practice at the moment. You see the practice speeds up at the top of your screen.
Yeah, 51 of Ryan Shelton showing some pretty good pace, a 10th ahead over Angelo. Oh man, I really don't want to try to pronounce that name. Angelo, I'm sorry.
Good luck with that. Angelo H. Again, new names here for us this week, so forgive us if we're not amazing with them, but we're trying to learn them as usual.
I didn't realize an R can come after an H like that, but proves me wrong.
There's Robert Gaba in the 75 Chevrolet Camaro. Of course, the Camaro new to iRacing here this week. And looking really, really good out here on the racetrack.
Yeah, one thing just pointing out, you notice it's very cloudy here, not a lot of light. And that's really playing into how much grip these cars are going to have. You can also see that the track's very worn in. Track usage set at 100%. So these guys are going to have an insane amount of grip here, and that really shows in the lap times with Ryan Shelton currently at a 109.4, which is extremely fast here.
Air temp 65 degrees, track temp 66. That is sticky and grippy. Overcast conditions making it even better. No wind to speak of. And it says 8 turns. I disagree. I think it's 7. We see some drivers getting some last-minute practice in here. Bailey Turner in the number 24 Camaro, the Ollie's Bargain Outlets machine, heading down into the bus stop.
Yeah, and again, tricky part of the track here, trying to follow in, following in a guy right behind you. It's just a matter of making sure you don't mess up your turn, otherwise you can lose a lot of track position.
Through the carousel again, extremely important. This is a multi-line corner, actually. You can take it several different ways, and as practice concludes here, we are going to set the grid up via qualifying here in just a moment. And of course, we'll ride on board with some drivers to get a different perspective of how this racetrack drives at full speed. We'll ride on board with one of these drivers here and get a good look at it here. But 45 laps here tonight. Not sure if we mentioned that yet. Stage break on lap 14. And full course yellows will be enabled in case there's a big accident. But it's unlikely here at road courses.
Yeah, typically so. Just the way iRacing usually has it set up. Although the admin Andrew, he was telling us that if there is a big wreck, they're not afraid to throw out a yellow. So hopefully it doesn't come to that. Hopefully we see everyone take the checkered flag in one piece. But as races typically go, that's not entirely supposed to happen.
Of course, the 78 of Chris Gutierrez, a driver we're kind of familiar with. We've seen him pop across the board in a few different leagues, but here he is tonight in the Virtual Racing League Cup Series up through the top of the S's. And this is a portion normally would be very slippery in these race cars.
Yeah, it's just a matter of just keeping it under control. And these guys, again, shouldn't have too much of a problem here with their setup and also just the weather on the track. So they got a lot of grip to work with, and we should really play into a lot of guys making some pretty good passes here with that extra grip.
Certainly the extra grip will allow you more passing opportunities here, Finian, but 45 laps, that's a half distance to the real race, but pit stop strategy will be something we'll have to keep an eye on as well. I don't think tires are going to be quite as important. However, that's kind of a question mark because with these drivers leaning so much on the tires, especially up to the top of the S's, you're going to wear out your tires more than you would normally, even with the warmer weather.
Yeah, it really might end up coming down to just guys who can look after their tires better and not use them all up. So that's really going to show where more experience and better car control is going to come in hand.
See AJ Stravado down into turn 1 in that number 33 Camaro. And again, we talked about turn 1 being important, but it's really an extremely important section of this racetrack because you have to get the car slowed down to second gear, and then you have to speed up and get all the way through the gears and maintain your speed all the way up to the top of the S's and onto the back straightaway. This is the longest portion on the racetrack.
Yeah, and then you have to slow all the way down for this inner loop. Yeah, and I can't stress enough how tricky this section of the track can be for some drivers, and you can lose a lot of time or gain a lot of time depending on how good you can take it.
No one's laid down a valid lap time yet. I expect the 24 and the 78 to be the first cars to lay a lap down, but we'll see here in a moment. Riding on board again with Stravado, just under 100 miles an hour, about 95 through the middle of turn 6. And one of the only left-handers on this racetrack, and then back to the left of the racetrack to swing back to the curb on the right and launch yourself onto the front straightaway here.
And as he comes across the line, and so do the other drivers, we'll see where all their times add up.
And to the top of the board, Stravado goes, but only one, actually, well, Mark Emerson in the 22 will just best him out by a little bit.
So far, he's going to hold pole, but only 5 guys have taken their laps so far. We're still waiting for guys to still turn in the laps, but currently Mark Emerson on pole.
Eric Hutton, our points leader in the number 88 car. Oh, that paint hasn't loaded yet. There it is, National Guard number 88 machine in that Camaro. See if Emerson's out there going for another lap. He almost dropped a wheel off at the exit of turn 1, but let's watch him now down through the bus stop chicane here at the end of the back straightaway. Nice and smooth up and over the curbs. Misses that third apex there just a little bit, but comes out nice and smooth. And his time last time through was a 109.714, so a pretty good competitive lap time, but he's bested by the 51 of Ryan Shelton in the 51 Hornet High Class Camaro.
Yeah, he's going to take pole right now about almost 0.2 of a second over Emerson. So we'll have to keep an eye on how that goes and see if Emerson can answer that.
Watch his speedo now. We're going to ride on board with him down the back straightaway on the gyro cam here. 185 was what he peaked at, down to second gear. Up and over the curbs. Wow, look how grippy that is through there.
And he's going to take quite a bit of a line. Almost ran off the track there. Very aggressive line here, and that's kind of the thing you have to play kind of balance out here, is being aggressive but making sure you keep it on the black stuff, because getting into the grass is very slippery, especially in these 750 horsepower cars.
Yeah, keeping it on the black stuff, that's always important at any racetrack, but at Watkins Glen, we don't have a ton of runoff room to play with, mostly just over there in turn 1. So keeping it on course is going to be important, especially for the guys locked in the championship battle. As we see Joshua Banks in the 35 sitting on the pit road, but he laid down a 4th place time, a 109.897.
So it seems that only the top 15 of all the guys here put some times down. We have about 25 guys here in attendance. I'll make that 16 now. Guys have put some times down. Oh, 17, still growing, but some guys at the back opting to not put a lap in.
75 of Robert Gaba down in turn 1. Looks like he will park it. Seems satisfied. Levi Poland in the Coors Light Silver Bullet. It's blue and pink here this week, but beautiful looking Camaro. I notice a lot of Chevrolet Camaros out here.
Yeah, a lot of guys typically like Chevys, and I can't imagine them not liking this Camaro. Beautiful race car.
And we'll wrap up qualifying here from the Virtual Racing League Cup Series at Watkins Glen. We're getting ready to grid for 45 laps around this racetrack, and Finian, the starts of these things are always hectic, but what about turn 1, that 90-degree right-hander?
Well, it just plays into how chaotic the starts are. You go from a pretty fast straightaway down to a heavy braking zone, and a lot of guys, especially in the start, will try to one-up you there. And everyone's pretty much going to be fanning out for position. You have pretty much clear track to the left side here, so you're going to see guys run wide and use it up as much as they can. Of
course, points leader Eric Hutton there in that number 88, starting up nice and close to the front, waiting for the rest of the field to grid. They pop on course, that number 22 car, that Coca-Cola Ford Fusion. That is Mark Emerson. And was he bested by pole by the 51? He might have been. Let's take a look at our starting grid here this week. And Ryan Shelton in the 51 managed to steal the pole away from Mark Emerson at the last possible second. And Emerson will start on the outside of that first row.
Yeah, Emerson just not enough to fight back with it, but in third we got our points leader Eric Hutton in that 88, and in fourth we have Joshua Banks in that 35 Chevy.
Both in Chevrolet Camaros on that row. As we move back to the next row, that's Eli Hinton and Andrew Schmier. That's not how you pronounce that. Schmier? Schmier. We're going to go with Schmier. Andrew Schmier in sixth, the number 38 machine. Again, apologize for the name pronunciations. We're new here this week. Good luck, Finian.
And I got Angelo H in the 9 in that Chevy Camaro starting in 7th. And then on the outside we have A.G. Stravato in the 33.
Elliot Butler in the 36. Chris Stouffer in the number 7. Both also in Camaros. That'll be row 5.
And then in row 6, we have Chris Gutierrez, who's a familiar name to us, starting in 11th. And then in 12th, we have Jordan Ashland in the 27 in 12th.
And, of course, Gutierrez in a Camry. That's the first one we've seen. Levi Poland in the 91 and Steven Turner, but also both in Camaros here this weekend. 13th and 14th for those drivers.
And back there we got in 15th, we have Reggie Ortega in the 2. And then in 16th, we have Jeremiah Vincent in the 8 car.
Moving on back, one more row. Robert Gaba in the 75. Andrew Telgenhoff. That's how we're going to go with that. 17th and 18th in the 75 and 3. Also in Camaros.
And 19th, we have Brian Chambliss in the 21. And then David Mott Jr. in the 41 and 20th.
Field rolls off as we move back to 21st and 22nd. Eddie Trejo and William Troy. Trejo? Trejo. Trejo? Trejo. I'm going to go with that. Trejo. And that they are in the 11 and 57, and then 57 is actually Chris Garrett there and Bailey Turner in the 24. Those guys are 23rd and 24th on the grid.
And rounding out our field is John Rodden in the 96 in 25th. So we have 25 cars here, and it seems that most people got off. I think some people might actually be starting from the pits. From the looks of it, looks like David Mott Jr., John Rodden.
Oh, they're here. We should explain a couple inconsistencies here. iRacing's build has borked a couple things with the spectator mode, and a couple of the drivers you might see bouncing around on the ticker. We'll promise you we're keeping an eye the best we can. Of course, it's not ideal that we're having these issues, but until iRacing patches that, we're going to be having some people kind of disappearing on and off the ticker. Don't freak out if you see a lot of people shuffling around quite a bit. If there's any significant passing or going on, we'll try to keep an eye on it. But as we watch them head down into the bus stop chicane, there's a lot of race cars out there on this track. It's going to get very tight down into turn 1.
A lot of beautiful race cars. I saw a Days of Thunder tribute paint scheme. But yeah, some great looking cars. Definitely a lot of Chevy Camaros. It might be the Chevy Camaro Cup here.
Yep. Hey, can't blame them. The car is gorgeous. It's fast, and we're ready to go racing here for 45 laps. Remember, stage break lap 14. How does that play into the strategy here a little bit? That's not that long into the race.
Yeah, and you're going to see guys pretty much try to run out as fast as they can during this first part of the race. Since they don't really have to worry about making a pit stop, I would imagine almost everyone's going to take advantage of that caution and come down pit road. So you're going to see guys pretty much run a lot more aggressively than they will in the later part of the race, where they're going to be a little bit more conservative.
Rolling through turn 6, the rough RT12 pace car is going to pull off coming out of turn 7, and we'll turn them loose. 750 horsepower times 25. And of course, we're going to scream on down to turn 1 and get those cars downshifted. Got to watch the wheel hop, got to watch the other cars around you, got to watch 3 wide, because it's going to get action-packed here at Watkins Glen. The 51 car is going to lead them down to the green. Green flag in the air here at Watkins Glen. 45 laps about to get underway.
You're going to see some guys kind of edging out here, and we're already going 3 wide into turn 1. This is going to be a little bit sketchy.
3 wide with the 2. The 91 is also there as well, but as we make it through, looks like everybody should be able to survive. Up front, though, we have a change for the lead. Mark Emerson's run away from the 51 of Ryan Shelton up to the top of the S's.
Yeah, and it seems like he's able to use that leverage on the outside of the turn to get the move done through the S's. You see some shuffling back here for position up to the S's.
91 of Levi Poland out side by side. It's a very tricky spot to do so. Down into the bus stop, we got the 70-something car back there that was making that move. That was 75 of Robert Gabon, out of control, into the wall, hard into the lick, into the outside barrier, and he's going to be prone in the bus stop entrance, and that is significant damage to that 75 car.
Yeah, I saw him weaving along with, I'm trying to think of what car it was. The Coors Light car.
Oh, got another one in the wall. That's Chris Stouffer in the 7. He whacked the barrier coming out of the carousel.
Yeah, that's really, that might honestly be, that might either be race over for him, or that might not be too much damage. You'll have to see how that affects him later on. But meanwhile, up front, the 22 of Mark Emerson has actually yielded the position, the lead to Ryan Shelton in that 51.
But Shelton is not running away from Emerson. Shelton's off the racetrack over into the runoff area in turn 1. Can he get it rotated barely in time?
Great save by him,
but he's got to get back on the track. That's going to be a sketchy rejoin, but he manages to get it done. He's going to lose a lot of spots, back to 9th.
Yeah, that's allowed the 22 of Emerson to take the lead here, and right now he has to hold off the charging 88 of Eric Hutton behind him.
Remember, Eric Hutton is your points leader, and he's got to be careful here today not to get himself into trouble. But down into the bus stop we go, up and over the curbs.
You can see everyone being a little bit conservative, except for you guys really mounting those curbs there through the bus stop, but everyone so far so good. A lot of single file action at the moment. Everyone's pretty much sorted out.
27 of Jordan Ashland settling into the 11th spot, but back up front, Emerson's beginning to stretch it out over Eric Hutton, now 0.8 of a second the advantage.
Yeah, but behind him it looks like some guys are actually getting a little bit more bunched up here. This is the battle for third place. See the 13 of Eli Hinton. There we go. As he's trying to get around the 38 ahead of him. But right now the 9 of Angelo H is going to look to the inside of him in turn 1, and he's going to try to outbrake him. Not going to get the move done.
I always say that I like the outside line here at Watkins Glen when you're defending, because it's so hard to get the car rotated without it getting pinched off. You see Angelo being under attack there from the 35 of Joshua Banks. But again, it's so tricky to make that inside line work in turn 1 when you're not trying to run into the guy on the outside. It's a very precarious spot to be.
Yeah, and even to add to that too, well, because these corners are so fast in nature, it's really easy to hold a lot of momentum on those outsides to make a pass or just defend for position.
Chris Gutierrez already out to a pretty decent start there in that number 78 car. 5-hour energy on board that machine.
Yeah, and the 51 currently is running in 8th position. He moved up 1 spot after in recovery, but right now he's got a huge amount of cars ahead of him as we're looking still on this battle with 13 of Eli Hinton and 9 of Angelo in 5th place.
So we got David Mott Jr., John Rodden, and Andrew Telganoff off the racetrack right now, involved in damage on those opening lap incidents. But it looks like everyone's kind of gotten themselves strung out right now, and I think everyone's a little bit more comfortable. We got a battle going on a little bit deeper in the field. That's Stouffer in the 7, under attack from the 91 of Levi Poland. They're 3 wide heading down to turn 1.
Oh, Poland's going to try to make a move. Thinks better of it, though. He's going to look back and let the 7 go. Here comes the 7 of Chris Stouffer looking to the inside. And actually, the 91 of Poland's actually going to make it through, and he's going to gain a position.
Up through the S's now. Reggie Ortega started 15th, running 15th, but he's watching the battle between Poland and Stouffer ahead of him unfolding.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for him. He just lost 2 positions in one corner, so he's going to try to have to chase these 2 guys up. But meanwhile, Poland's looking to the inside of Stouffer as we head into the bus stop.
Get those brakes nice and hot down into the bus stop, and it looks like Poland will complete that pass.
Use up a lot of curb doing so, and he's going to very easily defend off of Stouffer, but Stouffer was all over his back bumper, and here he comes with the charge on the back straightaway.
Remember, Stouffer's got that right front damage after that opening lap contact there at the exit of the carousel. Looks like he's carrying on pretty okay considering the damage that he got, but certainly going to be a long night for him if that is causing him steering issues. Check back out front. Emerson ran away for a couple laps, but the lead is starting to diminish, and Eric Hutton in that 88 car is beginning to reel him in. Last time by 0.3 of a second quicker for the trailing 88 car.
Yeah, he's definitely closing him. You see, actually, Emerson getting a little bit loose, getting on throttle there, and it's going to allow Hutton to get ever closer. And Hutton's looking a lot more smoother in his lines than Emerson, so he might be under attack here in a few laps.
At the top of the S is 184, 192 we saw by Mark Emerson for a brief moment.
And we're going to cut back to the 51 of Ryan Shelton. He's doing a great job in 7th. He's moved up two positions now, and he's currently trying to chase down 35 of Joshua Banks.
So obviously started on pole and had that slide off down there in turn 1. And, you know, this is something that might be interesting for these drivers. A lot of times, especially in NIS, you're used to having the track being very slippery. So when the track is grippy, you might get a little bit too brave. And I think that's what happened to Shelton. Just got a little bit offline down into turn 1, slipped off into the runoff area, and then had to be very careful in the rejoin process not to take anybody else out.
Yeah, but I mean, he's kind of lucky and fortunate that this error happened so early in the race, because we do have a stage caution coming on lap 14, so he has that to play advantage for, although he does need some points, though.
See the 35 car, Joshua Banks, he's following that number 9.
Oh, and the 51 of Sheldon's loose again, wiggling all the back of the car, wiggling, and I think that was that wheel hop we were talking about earlier.
Let's take another look at it down into turn 1. And yeah, you can see the back end of the car bouncing very violently, then takes a huge chunk of curb down in turn 1. Obviously some wheel hop issues for that 51.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what happened to him the first time around, like, where he lost all that position. So he's fortunate enough to save it again, but he's got to really keep that under control, otherwise it can end up putting him to the wall. He's kind of fortunate he doesn't even have any damage at the moment.
Jeremiah Vincent in the number 8 car is trying to fight off a hard-charging Bailey Turner. Look at the 57 of Chris Garrett sideways out of the S's portion there. And again, that's an area where you can get really out of control even with the grip here. There's just so much power and so little downforce through that area where the car unloads.
Yeah, definitely. So he's going to keep that under control at the moment. But here we got 33 of AJ Stravato and currently running in 10th, trying to chase down, or actually, sorry, he's kind of defending from the 27 of Jordan Ashland.
Through turns 6 and 7, and AJ Stravato slid back just a couple spots. And you see, wow, the 27.
Whoa.
Oh, we got one turn and down pit road. Well, that'll be Steven Turner. And maybe a strategy call here. It doesn't look like he has any damage to that number 26 car.
I'm kind of wondering if he was loose and just had to go down pit road, otherwise he would have hit the wall, or if he actually decided to pit.
I think it's a strategy call. I mean, you can make it on, well, can you? 7:38, that seems too long, Finian. 38 laps, I don't think you can do that.
Maybe he's just trying to pull some kind of strategy, so we'll keep an eye on what he's going to be up to. But yeah, here is the 8 of Jeremiah Vincent, currently in 15th, trying to chase down Reggie Ortega, currently running in 14th.
And Ortega's kind of slid back to this group, but had a pretty significant lead on them. And as we head down to the bus stop, we'll see if Vincent can do anything. Oh, Ortega hit the wall there? On corner entry to the bus stop?
It looks like it. He's got some right front damage there. It looked a little weird.
Oh, he spins!
Into the 21.
And we'll spin to the outside of the carousel, and we'll get it spun back around, but we'll lose all the spots that he had gained early in the race, and we'll go back, take a look at that whole sequence.
Let's see if we can get an onboard shot and see what he did. So that looks a little bit weird from our point of view.
Oh, he got loose under braking, Finney, and drilled the wall. Came back across the racetrack, and there was another car off track up ahead of him.
And then you see him trying to just get on the power here. He got loose and went into the 21 of Brian Chambliss, and that's going to ruin both the races. 2 was already off track there. He wasn't on camera, but he went off in the penultimate corner, so he's going to probably come down pit road, maybe fix that car.
Update on the leaders. Mark Emerson now has a 2-second lead over Eric Hutton in that number 88 car. So another 1.3 seconds back to Andrew Schmier in the number 38. And then Ryan Shelton, we got to look 6 seconds back. Oh, we got one way off. Is that the 35 of Banks? It is. Off into the sand trap, and he'll keep it rolling, but almost disaster there. He'll pop right back out in front of Stravato.
Oh boy, that's a very sketchy place to back out. 33 has to brake, and that's allowed Levi Poland to jump to the outside and make a pass. Almost 2.
We'd go back and take a look at it, but we want to see what happens here to Joshua Banks. Obviously got off track in the bus stop. Probably similar method. We got another one sliding out of control back there. Is that Eli Hinton? No. The 13 machine. That's Chris Garrett. I think he was the car we saw off track at the bus stop right ahead of the other vehicle we saw a couple laps ago. So Chris Garrett struggling.
Yeah, I think it's just
excuse me, that's not Garrett. That is Hinton in the 13.
Oh yeah, he's got significant rear damage to that car. That might end up hurting his downforce. But yeah, I think these guys are really struggling with grip, which is something we would have not thought of. But I mean, I guess because of the sheer power that these things put out and the amount of torque they put out, it really gets the rear tires spinning, and it's kind of hard to get all the power down for these guys, so it's still a little bit loose for them.
Joshua Banks through the top of the S's now, trying to hold off Levi Poland and make his way back forward. Wow, Poland almost to the outside of the racetrack there. That would be a horrible spot to lose control, as Banks having a little internet connectivity issue there, but Poland trying to take advantage of that horsepower. You see Stravato and Stouffer getting closer there at the exit of the bus stop.
Yeah, I saw Poland when he was going through the S's, he was very offline. Like, he just messed up his rhythm just by a bit, went wide at the top of the S's, and then almost you saw him going wide, entering the backstretch to the bus stop. He almost hit the wall there, so that just shows you how a little bit of a correction, a little bit of a mistake through the S's can really affect your line, and it almost took him out of the race.
Chris Stouffer is all over the rear end of AJ Stravato here, and he's got about 4 laps to the end of the stage. So he's got a couple laps to do something about it, but meanwhile, everyone else has pretty much strung themselves out and gotten a little bit comfortable. You see Poland spinning the tires at the exit of turn 7.
Actually, if we come back up to the lead, looks like Hutton's yet again. He's cut almost 4/10 of a second off of Emerson's lead that last time by. We'll keep an eye on what he can do this time by. It seemed like he might have made a mistake or something that happened to him that he lost a significant amount of time to Emerson in first place, but he's currently reeling him in. Kind of debating right now, does he have enough time to catch him?
I think he's got enough time to catch him if Emerson makes a mistake, but we haven't really seen Emerson make a lot of mistakes. He was pretty solid so far. And Hutton, again, also these guys have been so consistent, just running different lines and different speeds, and curious to see how the tire strategy will play into it later in this race. Elliott Butler in the 36 car off to a pretty decent start. Started 9th, running 5th, so plus 4 spots for that blue number 36.
Yeah, right now he's got a hold of Angelo in the number 9 and 6th place behind him, having a decent day at the moment as well. But here we still have the 33 of AJ Stravato holding off Chris Stouffer in the number 7. I see Stouffer looking to the inside there. Door got shut there as AJ shut the door on him, so he's going to have to still settle in behind.
35 looks like he's coming down pit road, so Joshua Banks is going to try to beat the stage here. And this is starting to get into the realm of possibility of making it on fuel. 34 laps? You could make that with a little bit of saving. Not sure if that's what Banks is doing, but certainly an interesting strategy call here earlier in the race.
Yeah, remember that there is a caution that's going to come out, so those guys can save some fuel. So it's kind of a question mark whether they can or cannot, but nice to see some guys throw some strategy in there.
I'm going to say that this last name is pronounced Hronis.
Hronis?
Angelo Hronis.
Okay.
We're going to go with
We'll
that,
go with that,
so we can call him something. But Angelo Hronis in that number 9, reeling in Elliott Butler in the 36 car. That'll be for 5th place if he can get there.
Yeah, still charging hard, though. But meanwhile, back here, we got a battle between... Actually, the 33's caught up to the 91 of Poland, and Stouffer's still trying to find a way around.
Backed out of that pass and came right back into the clutches of Chris Stouffer in that number 7. And looks like lap times-wise, there's a pretty decent separation between where these guys are running and up front. Mark Emerson's last time through was a 110.9 and a 111.8 for Chris Stouffer in the number 7 the last time through. So about a second gap between 1st and 11th.
And behind them, though, we got the 8 of Jeremiah Vincent holding off the 24 Bailey Turner. And yeah, so they go through the penultimate corner there, and they're about to head back onto the back straight. It looks like actually the 24 lost a bit of time, so he's going to fall off from that battle.
Bailey Turner started 23rd and is running 13th, so plus 10 spots for that Ollie's Bargain Outlet Chevrolet Camaro, and he's going to look for another spot deep on the brakes down into turn 1, but not sure if he can. That's a little bit late of a move, and he's going to have to back out of it and reform that pass effort.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a really hard corner to try to outbrake someone, because if you get too late on the brakes, you get some wheel hop, and that's not good to deal with.
And Hronis has tracked down Butler again. Riding on board now with Butler through the bus stop.
Hronis took a great line through there. Really tight to the apex, although looks like he actually lost some time through there compared to Butler.
Butler's line was very nice and smooth and kept it tight on the curbs. And again, like I said, you got to be aggressive on there. You don't want to give anything away. But as we move back up to the front now, less than a second separating leaders, 9/10 of a second between Emerson and Hutton. And we have a couple lap cars out there on the racetrack right now moving out of the way.
Yeah, I see they're going to let these two guys by and let them duke it out at the moment. So nice to see these guys giving some space. But yeah, I'm kind of wondering. I don't think Hutton's got enough time, as this is the white flag for these guys before the stage caution.
And once the 5th car crosses the start-finish line, that yellow flag will fly. Give these guys an opportunity to come get tires and fuel, and trust me, they will want them.
Yeah, definitely so. So, as these guys, here we got AJ Stravato still holding off Stouffer, but Stouffer looks like he lost some ground now. He was on the back bumper of the 33 like 2-3 laps ago, but he's kind of fallen off about 5/10 of a second. Up
through the S's, looking down from above. An interesting perspective here. The apexes of these corners are late, but you can really kind of take several different lines through there if you're careful and cautious enough. You can really make speed in a few different ways. Yeah. You see the 8 of Jeremiah Vincent all the way out to the Armco coming out of turn 4.
Yep, great job by him. So if we can actually jump to the front now, I think the leaders should be coming.
Yep, coming to the checkers for stage 1. And Mark Emerson started on pole. And actually, yep, no, second place. The 51 was on pole. Emerson started second, will finish stage 1 in first place. Eric Hutton, Andrew Schmier, Ryan Shelton made his way all the way back to 4th place, but on pit road, interestingly enough, and will drop a couple spots as the caution comes out.
I was just going to point out, he did come to pit road, was running in 4th. We're going to see where it actually spits him out in the order. Should be, oh, he crossed the line, I think, in 6th, I want to say. I'm not sure. But, yeah, so interesting strategy call here. I want to see what's up his sleeve for pitting right before the caution.
So an interesting strategy call by that number 51 car. And we'll see how it all plays out. We got one off the racetrack. It's the 87 of William Troy. Was off course when the caution came out. You see his Twitch channel on the rear bumper there. See if we can get a nice good look at that. William BRT87. Check out that Twitch channel post-race here. But don't leave us now. We got too much action coming your way. You see the 22 of Mark Emerson is caught back up to that number 87 of Troy. So Emerson held on to that pretty well and led the majority of that stage, but we're going to get tires and fuel and set them loose for another 30 laps after this.
Yeah, so once these guys catch the pace car, pits will be open, and we'll see what strategy moves these guys are going to pull off. So currently the order is Emerson first, Hutton second, Schmier in third, Butler in 4th, and Hronis in 5th. That's your top 5 at the moment.
And Shelton crossed the line in 6th, but obviously as the times update here, he'll drop down the running order and will pop out in, I believe, 14th place for that number 51. So behind the pace car is Mark Emerson, and Finian, the tire strategy here can't be too much of a mystery. You're just going to want to put 4 slicks in filled up with fuel.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of silly, in my opinion, to take 2 tires, especially at a road course, you know. On an oval, it makes sense. It makes perfect sense. You're going to use those the right side tires more than the left. But on a road course, using pretty much both, might as well come in and take 4 tires.
Well, Eric Hutton playing this very well. And again, leading the point standings, you don't want to take any significant risks. But here this week, he's just going to want to keep it on course, and so far he's doing that as well as being quick. That's a hard combination. When you're battling for a championship, you don't want to put yourself in a bad spot, and it's easy to do at a road course like Watkins Glen.
Yeah, it's pretty much about managing yourself and just keeping your head on straight and just driving as much as you can without going over too much over the limits. Especially on this older version of Watkins Glen, which doesn't have a lot of runoff compared to the modern Watkins Glen, where you can kind of run wide and there's very little penalty. But there's a lot of grass still on this version of the track, and you don't want to get into it.
So there is lots of race cars behind that rough RT12 pace car now, and when the pits open this time through, I think we're going to see a lot of takers. And Mark Emerson should be the first of them to roll that number 22 Ford down pit road.
Yeah, that beautiful Coca-Cola paint scheme. That's a fantastic looking car.
A lot of great looking paint schemes out here tonight. It's very cool and refreshing to see. As we'll see the 22 of Emerson peel off down to the commitment line here off of turn 7. And down pit road they come.
Yeah, pretty much everyone is a taker here.
I can't imagine why you wouldn't take pit stops now. But we'll see if anything changes here. Of course, the 51 car is really one we got to watch. See if Ryan Shelton stays out on the racetrack, as well as Levi Poland and Joshua Banks. Interesting to note that they'll stay out under this yellow.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by Shelton, as we saw him pretty much come in right as the caution came out. That's pretty much why he stayed out, I guess. So, I see the 8 actually overshot his pit stall, but meanwhile, these guys come out of pit road, and the 88's going to hold off the, what's that, the
38 car, yep.
Yeah, Schmier.
It might not be how to pronounce it. We have no idea. We're just going off of phonetic pronunciation at this point.
Yeah, he almost was able to steal second place from Hutton, but he's going to hold that. Emerson's going to hold the lead. Actually, Bailey Turner, surprisingly, was able to jump up to 5th out of the pit stops. He's going to jump ahead of Stouffer. So, small change in position, not too crazy, except for the guys that stayed out on track.
Of course, Banks is going to move up a couple spots into that first position. Now, again, you can play this a bunch of different ways, and I'm curious to see, Finian, how these different strategies work out as see Turner falling into line here. What's the strategy for these guys now? I mean, they didn't pit. Actually, the 35 did come down pit road, I believe, didn't it? Yeah, he did. Definitely. Let's take a look. We have that information right in front of us. Yes, so everyone on the racetrack has pitted.
Oh, and interesting, actually, even Poland came down at some point as well. It's a little bit after Banks. So that's probably, that's I guess, why these three guys stayed out. So that's not too crazy on their part. So although their tires aren't going to be as fresh compared to the guys behind. So we'll see really what 2, 3, and 5 laps difference makes.
So interestingly, 5 laps for Joshua Banks got on those tires, 3 for Levi Poland, 2 for Ryan Shelton. So they're kind of inversed on how they should be speed-wise. And of course, Ryan Shelton was sitting on pole and has run, I believe, one of the best laps of the race, second to Mark Emerson and Eric Hutton. So he'd be third to them.
Yeah.
Hadn't read that far down the list yet. So we should be getting the one to go this time through and get those other cars out of the way. So I'm curious to see now how we're going to line up for this restart and whether or not tires that are a couple laps old are bad. We saw the other night in the Hardline Cup Series that at Phoenix Raceway that the tires were extremely important. But maybe not so here tonight. We'll see.
Yeah, it's pretty much going to be to how much these guys in the front are really going to be able to manage their tires, because, I mean, they can't be as aggressive as the guys behind because they have fresher tires. So you don't want those tires to fall off the cliff sooner, that you're going to pretty much succumb to them. So it's just going to be about watching your pace, just trying to go fast, but not be too aggressive and wear out the tires.
And Eric Hutton's going to be pushed back to the 5th spot now, and this is as far back as he's been all day. And I wouldn't really say he's in traffic by any stretch of the imagination, but certainly not as clean of a spot as he was at the start of this race.
No, definitely wish he was forward, but I think he has a decent amount of pace in there to move forward. So we'll see what he's going to be able to do from, that is, 5th place? Yes, 5th place.
The field works their way down the back straightaway now. Looking from high above Watkins Glen International, you see the field at the bottom of your screen. We're 17 laps into a 45-lap event here for the Virtual Racing League Cup Series. And you see the wave-arounds making their way back around Turn 6 and Turn 7. And the beautiful racetrack here in upstate New York, our home track. Not sure if we mentioned that earlier. Actually, I think you did. We're about an hour and a half away from it, so I like this place quite a bit. And the Cup car, fantastic combination here today. Joshua Banks currently sitting on top of the board with some interesting strategy calls, as well as Levi Poland. And the 51 of Ryan Shelton, who sat on pole and was displaced by an early mistake down in Turn 1.
Yeah, well, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, on this restart if the 51, the 22, or the 88 take the lead. I'm not entirely sure about Poland or Banks. We haven't really seen their true pace as they were kind of mired back in traffic. But I expect, I'm looking really interested in the 51, 22, and 88.
I'm interested in the 24 of Bailey Turner from 23rd to 8th in that opening run. That's a big, big difference to make up, and I'm expecting that 24 to make its way forward even more.
The only thing, though, I'm kind of concerned with is lap time wise, he isn't the fastest compared to those guys up front. But again, we'll see what he can do with some cleaner air up in front.
Through turn 6 and turn 7, the rough RT12 pace car will pull off this time through, and we're about to turn him green once again. We'll be on lap 18 of 45 here at Watkins Glen. Joshua Banks in the green and gray 35 car will lead him back down to the green flag here at the Glen, and it flies. We're heading down to turn 1. You see the 36 car of Elliott Butler jumping out of line, and then Joshua Banks moves back over to the left of the side of the racetrack, the 22 Emerson, and around goes the 91, spinning.
And it looks like he's going to
save
save
it.
Yeah.
Wow, an incredible save there, but he's going to lose a bunch of spots.
He's going to lose a bunch of spots, and I don't think he's going to be too happy with the 22 Emerson. Emerson looked like he overcooked it on his brakes, and you can see he has significant damage to the front of his car. You see Bailey and Hutton almost getting into each other, and everyone's fanning up behind him.
Chaos down the back straightaway here at Watkins Glen. There's cars everywhere trying to get themselves sorted out. This is going to be tricky. 3 wide into the bus stop. That ain't going to work. You got to get yourself sorted out.
And Bailey Turner is going to actually jump out to 6th place, so solid start from him. You see everyone backed up right here, still fighting for position.
Side by side, that's Chris Stouffer and the 36 of Elliott Butler. And you got to watch that corner exit there. No curbing there to save you if you get wide.
Yeah, so back up front out in all that chaos, Joshua Banks is currently in first, holding off Ryan Sheldon and Andrew Smear behind him in third.
Eric Hutton has survived that restart. Almost got drilled by the 24 going up to the top of the S's, but managed to hang on to it as we see lots of duking and diving. And you look like Chris Gutierrez there was loose off the corner, but here comes the 91 of Levi Poland back down to the inside trying to make a pass on Stouffer. Can't do it this time through.
You see, oh, there's a car loose there.
Yep, I got to get the camera on it. That is Stephen Turner in the 26, loose and out of control down through turn 1.
A dastard job by him saving it and not plowing through the corner, possibly taking someone out. Was able to slow the car down enough, barely. Almost T-boned the 33 of AJ Stravato.
Looks like he got away with minimal damage, too, as behind him they're side by side. There's Eli Hinton in a very heavily damaged number 13 car.
Yeah, these guys still trying to race it out behind him. Meanwhile, back up front, we still got the 35 of Banks, and actually opening up quite a bit of a gap at the moment.
So everyone's kind of got sorted out. A little bit of damage to the left front of that 22 car. It might be hurting him. Actually, pretty significant damage now on that 22, all from the restart, perhaps.
Yeah, I'm kind of concerned, especially, though, with his engine. I mean, this is a pretty fast track, and if you're... Ooh, actually, Bailey, I think, in the 24 went wide. Yeah, he went off the screen and turned...
Wow, the 91 again!
Oh, yeah, the 91 of Poland got, I think, into the back of Turner in the 24, and now Turner's got even more damage to his car.
Oh, wow, we just missed another accident on the back straightaway. The 26 car of no, it wasn't Stephen Turner. Brian Chambliss in the 21, loose off of the carousel, pounds the Armco barrier there. That's significant damage for him. And if we look up farther, the 91 of Levi Poland here, you see the 24 going wide back onto the racetrack, and oh, Poland had to park it to miss him and then pounded the outside retaining wall in turn 7.
So Poland's really, his race has gone from good to worse in a span of 2 laps. So he's not really sitting happy at the moment, as he just went through the bus stop. I'm not sure if his car is handling okay.
Jeremiah Vincent all over the rear end of Eddie Trejo in the number 11 car, and around he will go. And then, of course, Chris Gutierrez and AJ Stravato battling there. That's for 13th.
Yeah, these guys having a position back here, but meanwhile up in the front here we have Schmier holding off the 88 of Hutton, who's been charging up since the start here after he was able to get sorted out after that wild start to the race, restart to the race.
Almost halfway through this event now. You see on the brakes down into turn 1. Didn't hear any wheel hop there. You see the 88 taking a big chunk of curb, drifting out to the exit, and nice and smooth for those 2 drivers.
But up for second place, though, it looks like Sheldon is actually catching Banks by about 3/10 last time by, so we're going to have to keep an eye on him. Again, he fell back after the start of the race with a wheel hop into turn 1 on lap 2, so he lost nearly 8 positions, found his way back up under this caution brake, and now he's trying to chase back down the lead. He's got some work to do, though.
Certainly has some work to do, and so does Eric Hutton. He's chased down that 38 of Schmier. To the inside he goes through the carousel. This is a tricky spot to make a pass.
Well, Hutton was actually able to get a great run out of the corner, able to put the power down, and he has advantage over Schmier heading into the penultimate corner.
They're going to be side by side in the braking zone. A little bit loose for the 88 of Hutton, but he'll manage to clear Andrew down into turn 6 and run away and take over 3rd spot.
Yeah, and into turn 7 they go final corner, and here we have the 24 Bailey Turner And actually, Turner went up, fell back, and he's been kind of all over the place on the restart here. After going wide, almost got collected by the 91. He was able to stay off of his back bumper, and he's going to continue on in 8th place.
It's deep into the braking zone for turn 1. He got a pronunciation correction. Angelo's last name is just Ronis.
Oh.
That's a lot easier.
Okay.
But the H doesn't need to be there. That's my thing.
Okay,
anyway.
H is silent. Okay.
Good to know. Anyway, back up front, Joshua Banks leading by a second over Ryan Shelton down the back straightaway into the bus stop again for the 22nd time. Up and over. Oh, disappeared there for a second. Up and over the curbs. Ryan Shelton now making his way through, and Eric Hutton beginning to close that gap to the 51.
Yeah, very slowly though, methodically, and I'm really interested to see. I've got to say, the 88 and the 22, I think, were the faster between the three of them, including the 51 of Shelton. But right now, the 22 Emerson struggling with that damage, currently in 5th place. So I'm interested to see Hutton's pace at the moment in 3rd.
That 22 car cannot be handling very well with that damage to the left front and the right front, but managing it okay in that 5th spot for now.
It's still ahead of the 36 of Elliot Butler and the 7 of Christopher, currently in 7th.
And Turner's trying to make his way back forward, and of course ran wide over there in turn 6 and dropped a wheel and lost a couple spots, but of course probably the biggest mover here so far, and Stouffer gets a little bit sideways under braking.
Yeah, just want to point out also now, it seems that the 91 of Levi Pullum pulled off the track. He's currently 3 laps down, so he's going to call it a day after getting 2 heavy bits of damage on the opening on the restart.
Last car, I believe, running is Reggie Ortega here, the number 2, and significant damage to that 2 car on the right front for sure, but running 2 laps down now.
And actually, Chris Gutierrez. Oh, okay. I was going to say he was showing him off the track, but he's still on it.
A little bit of damage to that car, though. We didn't quite see what had him lose all this time, but certainly had some trouble for the 78 of Gutierrez. Up front, half a second between the 2 leaders. And Eric Hutton is closed in on them as well, so this top 3 is getting tight.
Yeah, I mean, it's just we're seeing a fast guy in 2nd and I think a faster car in 3rd, but meanwhile, Sheldon's caught all the way back up to Banks, and I'm wondering if this is the tire difference, the tire life difference in play here.
Only a 3-lap difference, so I'd be surprised if it was, but I mean, hey. Tire's very sensitive to heat, and I guess Banks is putting a lot of heat in the tire at the moment.
And I mean, also just due to Sheldon's pace, I think Sheldon is the faster driver between these two. So it's just coming into play here. And here we got Sheldon trying to look to the outside here. Tricky corner to look to the outside, going on to the back straightaway, heading to the bus stop.
Banks goes defensive down to the bus stop. We'll move back to the racing line. And misses the corner just a little bit. He's going to run wide, and that's going to put the 51 right on the bumper. And a little bit of a push and brings in Eric Hutton into the battle.
Yeah, that's backed up Sheldon into Hutton, sorry. And now they're going to be still single file here, but Hutton's just a little bit closer.
So Banks missed one of the... We were talking about the curbs, Finian. You need to hit the curbs as we see a battle for 4th going on now. You need to hit the curbs just right. If you miss them just a little bit, they'll put you offline. There's a specific way to hit them, and if you don't get them just right, you're going to be losing spots quickly.
Yeah, we definitely see now Emerson really, he actually, I shouldn't say struggled, he actually caught up to Schumer.
Wow, you need some coffee. You want to try that again? Schmear.
There we go.
Oh, wow, look at the brake rotors on the 22, glowing violently down into turn 1. That's not something we've seen a lot as he closes in on the 38. We haven't seen a whole lot of glowing brake rotors so far, but... Oh, to the inside contact, around goes the 38, into the wall. In the S's, in hard contact, lying prone in the middle of the racetrack. He's got to be careful. That's a very bad spot to be parked.
Yeah, definitely so, and I can imagine that Shamir's not really entirely happy with that. I saw as soon as the 22 hit the curves, that wasn't going to be pretty, because that just pretty much launches the car straight forward, and that's not what you want to do heading through the S's.
Here's a replay of it. Get another view. You see the 22 diving to the inside, jumps the curb, gets up out of the groove a little bit, and spins the 38 around. And we'll get a nose cam off of the 22 of Emerson. Through turn 1, you see the 38 missed the corner just a little bit.
You see Emerson was just trying to find a way around. You see he jumped the curb, car went straight just a little bit, but that was enough to get into Schmier and spin him around.
Battle for the lead up front right now, side by side, and the 51 is going to go around the outside of the 35 of Banks. Can he clear him? He does. What a move.
Yeah, fantastic job there, able to jump in side by side. And like you were saying earlier in the race, it's easier to make that move on the outside, especially into turn 1, and we saw it pretty much right there.
I'm going to go take another look at it because we were under replay mode there. To the outside he goes, outbrakes him, and just makes that move and was able to carry more speed on corner exit. A well-executed pass for the 51.
Yeah, and I actually just realized, just wanted to point this out really quick, that 51, I was wondering where I see that paint scheme before. It was on his quarter panel. That's from Daytona, USA. That's a throwback. That game came out in like 1999 or something like that. I played that as a kid. So fantastic paint scheme and great job taking the lead there by Shelton.
Couple drivers jockeying for position, Elliott Butler and Bailey Turner. This is for 6th. Of course, Chris Stouffer has the top 5 spot right now, just ahead of this group.
Yeah, a little bit loose there on the tire. He's still trying to hold off the charging Bailey Turner, who's trying to find himself back up after losing his spots after going wide in turn 6.
And Turner's got some right front damage to that machine now. Down into turn 7. We'll complete another lap here. 20 laps to go. 19 now for the leader, Ryan Shelton.
Yeah, currently he's Joshua Banks behind him is currently under attack now by Eric Hutton, the points leader. So he's trying to gain some time there. Half a second behind in 3rd place.
Oh, right on board Bailey Turner's car up through the S's now. Rhythm section. You see Elliott Butler getting on the rumble strips there on the right side of the track. They will help hook the car around, but you have to be careful not to get too much. You see them all getting sideways up through the top of the S's now. Minimal grip there through that section.
And I mean, it's only going to get worse as the run goes on because these guys are, I would imagine, trying to go take these tires to the end or at least go long distance on them. So it's going to get worse, that grip there. So you got to be very careful on throttle heading up through the S's, as you could very well find yourself into the wall.
Joshua Banks is now under fire from Eric Hutton. I think this is where the tires are starting to matter, Finney. As you mentioned a couple laps ago, Joshua Banks has a significant number more laps on his tires than Eric Hutton, 5 laps, which that's enough to matter late in the run here, and you see that 88 closing in a little bit sideways, working the tires off of turn 7.
Yeah, both these guys have their tires kind of fading a bit. Hutton's going to charge. Will he look to the inside in turn 1? Nope, he's not going to. He's going to have to settle in behind and maybe make a charge up to the S's.
I know another guy who's making a charge. That is Bailey Turner again, down the inside of Elliott Butler.
Well, he's very hard on the brakes. Does he get the car slowed down enough? He does, barely ahead of the 36. Going to slide in front of him and take the position.
Whoa, 7 of Stouffer got way sideways. And look what Turner going to the outside through the S's. That's a hard pass to make.
Yeah, he's going to go to the inside here on the top of the S's. He makes the move dumb, but Stouffer not trying to hold off a charging Butler behind him.
And Butler's going to have a huge run and a little bit of a draft, but down the back straightaway here into the bus stop, and it looks like that 7 car might lose another spot here.
Yeah, they're going to be side by side through the bus stop. Very sketchy place. They're going to single file out barely as Butler falls in behind Stouffer.
27 of Jordan Ashland watching from behind with Angelo Ronis right on the rear bumper as well.
Yeah, Ronis fell quite a few spots back when that before that last restart. He found his way back up a bit. But here we got a battle here on our hands for 2nd place. Hutton charging on the back bumper of Banks. It seems though that he's also struggling for grip as much as Banks is.
See Emerson a little bit sideways there off of turn 7. That 22 car is badly beaten. And Bailey Turner under attack from 2 different drivers, the 36 and the 7. And Chris Stouffer wants his spot back.
Yeah, he's going to charge to the outside. We've seen this being successful several times before. He's going to try to make it successful again. Here he comes on the outside, wide off the turn, but Turner actually is able to hold that off.
A lot of turns going on in that sentence there. Angelo Ronis watching this from behind and willing to stick that nose in a place it needs to go, and that is past the 7 of Stouffer. And both these drivers making some mistakes up in front of them, and it's just a matter of when he can pounce.
And he is looking like he has probably one of the fastest cars in this group of drivers here. So it's just a matter of if he can have an opportunity to make the pass. But yeah, we got the 8 there just holding off Stravato. And Vincent's going to hold that position for now as they head through the carousel.
Yeah, Stravato backed out of it there and kind of cut Vincent a break. Could have stuck the nose in there and made it difficult on both of them, but he backed out and saved him a little bit of a headache. This group of 4 cars here, they've been racing hard. They've been leaning on each other and making mistakes, and it's fun to watch. But I think Stouffer really wants to get back around Turner. But Turner, again, 23rd to 5th. That is one heck of a drive for that Bargain Outlet's Chevrolet.
Yeah, he's done a fantastic job, and he might be able to get one more if he can catch up through the field, although it'll be a tall order to do.
You see, notice the brake rotor's not glowing on the 24 car, and I really want to get another look at Shelton next time by as Shelton's brakes were a lot hotter last time through.
I also noticed something. The 88 and the 35 are down pit road.
Oh, interesting move.
Yeah, so we're going to see some pit stops here, and these guys are going to try to go to the end on this. So
and Stravato as well on pit lane. You see others. There's the 2 of Reggie Ortega, the 13, also on pit lane.
This is an interesting call here because I imagine that Ryan Shelton can't stay out there too long because the undercut, it's really going to be successful for the 88 and the 35 because the undercut's about 2 seconds here, and which is a lot of time, and they weren't too far behind the 51. So we're going to see what the 51 of Shelton does. Looks like he's slowing down. No, he's going to speed up and he's going to stay out another lap.
I want to take another look at his brakes here coming down into turn 1 to see if he's running them a little bit hot compared to the other drivers, and you see not actually. So it was just hot on the restart chasing down the other drivers, but we got some more drivers. Oh, we got one spun around, and that's the 9 of Angelo Ronis.
That entire group pretty much taken out there.
Well, we got to get a replay of that. Oh, it was the 7 car that, wow, this started all the way back on the straightaway here.
Yeah, and into turn 6 they go, and see the 9 charging on the inside, and it got into the 7 of Stouffer, and then Stouffer got back in front of Ronis, and they went invisible there for a second, but that's pretty much how the wreck started. So these guys coming into contact again, and you see the 7 of Stouffer still struggling for grip as he enters the pit. So,
well, down to pit road he will make it, but certainly drama unfolding there for that group of cars. That was only a matter of time. But meanwhile, Shelton stays out on the racetrack, still running. 15 laps to go now. It will be 14 when he gets back to the line.
Interesting call by him. I think Shelton's knowing that the tires fall off after quite a bit of time, so he's going to try to stay on these tires as much as he can. I think he feels like he has some pace to work with.
Jeremiah Vincent in the 8 car also trying the strategy as well as Angelo Ronis. Of course, Ronis involved in that incident over there in turn 6, and Vincent just managed to miss it. But you see some damage to the rear end of that number 8 Wrangler car.
Yeah, a lot of guys ending up having some rear end damage. So that's like guys. That's pretty much guys getting into the back bumper of him. So shouldn't affect him too much. It doesn't seem to be affecting the splitter, or it's not the splitter, the spoiler on the back of the car. So he should be fine. But we have Sheldon still taking down some laps, and you gotta wonder when is he going to come down pit road.
Up through the top of the S is still making pretty good lap times. A 1:11 flat last time through, which is not bad, especially considering he's running on pretty old tires. So down the back straightaway this time through, maybe 10 to go might be a good lap to go in on, but he's really risking the undercut now with these drivers the more laps he spends out there.
Again, yeah, I think he's really betting on the fact that he's better on these older tires than his competitors, so he's going to try to run them out as much as he can, and then when he's on the newer tires, just put them pedal to the metal. But right now, Hutton and Banks having a fight for position. You see Hutton get a little bit loose there out of turn 1 on the newer tires, so I guess probably not enough heat built up in them yet.
And I just confirmed the top 2 drivers cannot make it to the end on fuel, so they have to come down pit lane. That puts Joshua Banks back in a good spot here, as well as Eric Hutton. But this is a battle now for the 6th spot. It's Jordan Ashland and AJ Stravato working themselves over through the top of the S's.
And here we got the 24 Bailey Turner right now holding off Elliott Butler yet again. And they found themselves yet on the track again, and here they come into the boss office. I guess Butler looks like he's actually closing in on Turner.
Butler had a scary moment through the top of the S as we'll look back on this, and got onto the curbs, and you'll watch the car wiggle and wobble here as he's going to hit the curb and set the car a little bit sideways at the top of the S's and manage to hold onto it.
And again, that's a very really bad spot to get the car loose because you're carrying so much speed. And if the car gets loose just by a little bit, it can really throw you out of whack.
Jeremiah Vincent down pit lane.
Yeah, so he's going to come down pit lane, but still 51 is still going to be out. He's going to be the last car out on this strategy here, so he's pretty much left alone, and he's got the 35 of Joshua Banks right behind him.
Right behind him, Joshua Banks is all the way up at the top of the S's, so knowing from experience, if you're in the S's, you can just about make it around to the pit lane. When the leading driver goes to pit road. So we'll have to keep a close eye on this because it's going to be closer than you think as Eric Hutton is closed in. Mark Emerson back there in 4th is running. That car is destroyed. Looks worse every time I look at it. I don't know how he's getting more damage, but it just looks bad.
I mean, it looks bad, but he's still running in 4th somehow, so he's definitely doing something special there.
Oh, Hutton's out of control! Man, wow, left some dirt, mud, and grass on, I was going to say the inside of his pants, but like, look at this. That was almost complete disaster for that 88 car.
That car is pretty much wrecked at that point. I'm impressed that he was able to pretty much slide that thing.
Watch his hands.
Yeah, you can see almost full lock to the right, and he kept the car going straight. I'm sure he surprised himself there. but he's going to have to regain himself and charge back up to Banks, who's kind of separated after that mistake about a second.
Battle for 6 now. Turner, Butler, Stravato all locked in it. Down the front straightaway, we see Stravato break the tires loose a little bit. Down into turn 1, looks like Turner's going to go defensive, which isn't something we've seen a lot down into turn 1. Again, it's so hard to maintain that, but you see Butler hard on the brakes, a little bit sideways down there, but he run around the outside, might actually be able to complete this pass if he can stay alongside up to turn 3.
Oh, it's going to be very sketchy, though. I think Butler's going to actually fall back in line. Yes, he will. Looks like he was going to try to pull the over-under, but couldn't do it as Turner didn't leave a space there for him. But yeah, Butler's going to have to actually, I was going to say he's going to try to charge again. He's going to have to hold up a charging AJ Stravato behind him in that 33.
Hard on the brakes again, down to second gear, up and over the top of the curbs.
And Butler charges in there really hard, caught all the way back up to Turner through that section.
Well, he used the bumper almost.
Ooh, almost did. That got really close there. And you're going to see what kind of run he gets off the corner. You see Butler staying right with him, right with Turner as they head back to turn 6.
And Shelton's still out on the racetrack up in the top of the chart there, so nothing changed up front. We'll keep you updated when he does. This is the battle for 6th place.
33 of Stravato. Very loose. Keeps it going, though, lost some position.
He's been wheeling it all night. You see Butler down on the brakes in turn 1. He's going to make a late apex. He'll have a run here on the exit. Turn 1 almost spins it, though, trying to get back on the power.
Wow,
that
was a dangerous rejoin. Yeah.
I think Turner had the rear wheel spinning about light speed there coming back on the racetrack.
That's allowed Butler to catch back up, but again, nowhere to go. Very sketchy place. You're trying to make a pass at the top of the S's. You really need a lot of downforce. You pretty much can only do that in a GT car. But these are stock cars, and it's extremely difficult to make that move. He's going to still have to settle in behind. You got to wonder, when is he going to try to, or where is he going to try to make the move around Turner?
Leader has taken 10 laps to go now for Ryan Shelton. He's still out there on the racetrack, so we'll keep an eye on it, but he can't make it on fuel, so an interesting strategy, but a 33-second delta back to Joshua Banks in the 35.
Yeah, I'm kind of questioning that at this point. That's the strategy of staying out this long. This is a very long time to stay out, and I think even more than the overcut could really help you. So again, maybe something we don't know that he's trying to pull off, but I don't see it at the moment.
Elliott Butler finally got around Bailey Turner there down in turn 6. Let's take a look at how it started.
And you can see Butler got a huge run out of the carousel, and we're going to see him try to just outbrake the 24 here on the inside, hard on the brakes and really squirrely on the brakes, gets the move done.
Excellent pass by the 36. Now they're working down through turn 1. Check back into the leader, and again, stays out of the racetrack. 9 laps to go now.
Ooh, this is going to be very interesting to watch if he can pull it off. How is that delta looking to you?
31 seconds, Finian. It's, look at the lane times here, Finian. 39 seconds is the average time these guys have been spending on pit road. My thought here, Shelton's going to come down for fuel only. I think that's the only way he makes this work.
Yeah, I can agree with you on that. A splash and dash is seemingly what it's going to be for the 51 of Shelton. I'll be surprised if he does anything else because he'll lose a lot of time. But still, we got the 88 of Hutton and Banks still fighting for position. Hutton been loose several times behind Banks and just not able to get the move around.
I honestly think that's what Shelton's going to do. I mean, if he takes 4 tires, you lose the race. There's only going to be 8 laps to go. I would just say take fuel only, make a strategy call here, and try to win this race, because I don't think you're going to do it with 4 tires.
Well, only he knows what he's going to do, and the rest of us are pretty much watching and seeing what he's going to do, especially the Banks, 35 of Banks and the 80 of Hutton are pretty much going to be watching like a hawk to see what he does, and I think the 51 is coming.
He's coming. Yep. All right, so this is, now we're going to see where the 35 is. They're in the inner loop. They're close enough to make a pass here if he's taking 4 tires. So Shelton is going to be down on pit lane. You see, oh, the 24 of Bailey. Oh, that's the 24. Okay. Oh, see Turner drilling the curbs there. I thought that was the 24 car, but it was not. It's the 38 car of Andrew Schmier, who somewhere along the line got into something.
And he's fallen back quite a few positions, but we're still watching the 51 of Ryan Shelton.
Taking at least left sides.
All right, we see him taking some tires.
On the front straightaway, here they come.
Do the right sides pop up? No, they don't.
Oh, so two-tire strategy, and here they come down the front straightaway. 8 laps to go now. Is Shelton going to beat him off pit lane? Looks like he will, but only by a couple seconds, Finney. This is going to be a tight battle to the end. We're coming to 7 to go next time through.
Interesting call here, and I think this might end up working. 2 tires is a bit weird of a call. and it'll be a little bit weird for his handling, but he might be able to pull it off here.
That was
closing laps.
Well done strategy call. I like it. I like the riskiness of it. And you see those two guys back there. 2.7 seconds is the differential. You'll get a look at it here. There it is, second place and third place.
So it's pretty much now up to the 35 and the 88 to catch him on raw pace on technically older tires than Shelton, as he has newer left sides. Newer
left sides, yeah.
Yes.
Good call, because the right sides don't wear out. You only really have 2 left-hand turns here, minus the inner loop. So I like the call. I like the strategy. 2.4 seconds. They close in 0.3 that time through, Finian, and it's going to keep growing. It's got to be flawless moves for the 51 of Shelton if he's going to plan on winning this race.
Now we're going to keep an eye on the lap time, see what that picture is going to look like.
It's going to be a little weird this time because he had an out lap.
Oh, yeah, that's true. So we'll have to watch next time by to see what the lap time delta is going to look like.
But a 1:10.8 for Banks and Hutton, those are pretty much right out of the gate lap times. So, they're only about a second off from what qualifying was. So these guys really trying to reel it in now. The gap's down to 2.3, so 2.2 now. So that's 0.6 of a second they've made up the last time that Shelton left pit lane. And you can see them now all in one shot. This is going to get exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be very close to see which of the two strategies here are going to work.
And Hutton has almost crashed there coming out of the carousel, but other than that, he's had a good points race. I don't think he's going to... It's a points picture here, Finney. You don't want to throw anything away, but you also want to win this race. You see the leader, you see the guy in front of you. All you got to beat is those 2 cars. Do you go for it, or do you restrain yourself and say, let's take a good points day?
Well, I think you should do the opposite of what Noah Gragson did and take yourself out of a potential championship fight. I mean, again, big picture is always what you need to look at here. You're in third place. You're having a fantastic day. You want to try to get second if you can because you have him right ahead of you. But if you can, try to get first, although it's looking a bit unlikely here.
Last time by Shelton was quicker by a 10th than Banks and Hutton, but I don't think that tells the whole picture. And with 6 laps to go now, they're going to have to start taking some bigger chunks out of this if they want to catch him.
I got to say, though, I'm very impressed by the 35 of Banks, able to hold off Hutton this entire run, pretty much. I honestly thought Hutton would have been able to get around him easily, but he's held him off pretty well and held him pretty much in the top 3 since the restart.
Lap car in the way for the 51. That's the number 11 car, Eddie Trejo.
Oh, he held him up actually quite a bit on the exit there, so the gap's fallen a bit here. I'm not sure too much.
2.4. At its lowest, it was 2.2. Now it's 2.3 coming out of the carousel.
So yeah, so Sheldon's actually able to increase that gap by just a bit, so it's looking more and more in his favor as these laps tick down.
Let's briefly check back with the battle for 6th. It's Butler and Turner. These guys have been at each other's throats the whole race, and I don't think it's about to end.
No, it's not. I mean, if anything, it's going to start heating up here in these closing laps. We'll see maybe if Turner, he's been pretty aggressive here. I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to be a little bit physical with the 36 of Butler. So we're going to see what he tries to do when the laps wind down.
Last time through, it was pretty much dead heat for the quicker times, but you got to give Shelton the advantage by about 100th of a second. So they're pretty even, but you know, if that scale doesn't start ticking the other way, I think Shelton's strategy call might have paid off.
Yeah, like I was saying, it looks like it's paying off more and more here. And actually looks like Banks is pulling a bit away from Hutton as he went wide there, exiting the S's.
Yeah, that was almost into the Armco there for Hutton in that 88. But if that 35 can actually focus more on chasing down the 51 and not holding off the 88, might actually work out for him. And the gap is 2.5, so kind of stabilized around 2.5 seconds. But again, one mistake by that 51. We saw him make a mistake early in the race. One mistake, and it's game over.
Yeah, so he's got to hit his marks pretty well. And I mean, he does have an advantage on tires, and he's pulling away. 2.8 seconds the gap now. So Banks is not going to catch him on pace. It's just a matter of, it's pretty much the 51's race to lose here.
Oh, for sure. And now 3 seconds is the delta. Gained some time on the backside of the course there.
Oh!
Shelton's down pit lane again. What?
Okay, that's interesting.
Potentially a speeding penalty?
No, it shouldn't. I don't think it could have been because he would have been disqualified by this point. I think you have about 3 laps to take a black flag. Did he underfuel his car?
He came to pit road with 8 to go, Phineas. That might be it's a pass-through. Pass-through penalty for the 51, and that just gave the race away. What a disaster for Ryan Shelton in the 51.
Oh, but that's made Hutton even more excited now. He's chasing down not second place now, but the leader of the 35 of Joshua Banks. This race is heated up even more now.
Well, now this is the battle for your lead. A minute ago it was just for second, and Banks screws up, and here comes Hutton to the inside.
No!
They spin into the wall, and both of them off the racetrack, and Hutton's going to get around with 4 laps to go. Joshua Banks finds himself stuffed into the Armco.
I can't imagine Banks going to be happy with that at all. We're going to see after the race if he tries to do something in retaliation or something. But yeah, 88 of Hutton got way too hot in and gave a pretty bad bump here to Banks on the quarter panel, and Banks had nothing else to really do here.
Wow, what a change of events. From third to first, Eric Hutton goes in 1 lap. There's a pass-through penalty for the 51, and then Joshua Banks gets looped at the exit of the inner loop, and with 3 laps to go now, that might have decided the race here, but damage to both those 2 lead cars. Mark Emerson in the damage 22 is coming up. He wants to steal second away from that 35 car Banks, who was just put into the fence.
Yeah, and I can imagine that there's some significant damage to Banks to that engine, especially that was a pretty hard lick into the inside wall. So he's trying to have to hold off Emerson, who's been in that damage car the entire race. But yeah, so Hutton's currently leading at the moment and has minimal damage to his car. So he should be able to walk away with it unless he makes a mistake.
There is definitely going to be some tempers after this race. We've seen a lot of physical driving here tonight, and there's a lot of damaged race cars out here. But I can't imagine Banks and Hutton are going to be very agreeable over that incident here. And now Banks has to worry about holding on to that second spot.
Yeah, but Hutton's got to be ecstatic at the moment right now. He's currently leading the race, and it's going to help him a lot through this championship fight for him. So he's currently leading. Banks second, Emerson third, Shelton fourth, and Ashland fifth. I actually got to say, Jordan Ashland came out of literally nowhere. I thought he didn't come into pit yet, but he's jumped up a few spots. He's running about in the midfield throughout the mid portion of the race, and he jumped up to fifth, so solid job by him.
And just look at that race car. Perfectly clean, no dents, no dings. 12th to 5th, clean, calm day, and that's worked out in his favor. A lot of these other drivers have had a lot of contact out there, and it's put them back in the running order.
So I think more cars are beat up than they are clean, which is surprising at a road course, honestly. But
well, especially one like Watkins Glen. Now, Sonoma's known for being very physical and aggressive. Watkins Glen, known for being very competitive, but not bumping and banging. You know, if you exclude the 2012 finish, not really something you see a ton, at least with cars that are competitive at the end. You see the 51 of Shelton charging back up through the field, but it's going to be too little too late for that number 51. What a disastrous end. Had that race in hand, played the strategy just right, and was a little bit too quick between the lines on pit lane.
Yeah, so we gotta definitely talk to him through his strategy and everything after the race. But an interesting one here is we pretty much saw two lead changes in 1 lap. That was an impressive feat to see. But here we have Eric Hutton, currently your leader, gonna approach turn 7, go through turn 7, and he's gonna come and take the white flag here.
One more time around Watkins Glen, should take about 1 minute and 11 seconds. Eric Hutton started out the day running in the top 5, kept himself out of trouble, inherited second place with a bad pit lane sequence for the 51 of Ryan Shelton, and then there was contact with the 35 of Joshua Banks, and he finds himself in the lead 4 seconds up on that 35 car. And out of range, out of touch, if he can make it one more time around, he'll win here and extend his points lead on everybody else.
Yeah, fantastic points day for him. Then in second place, you got Joshua Banks still trying to hold off Mark Emerson in that 22. I think he might be able to get it done as Emerson's just not able to catch up.
Through the inner loop, there's your battle for second right now. And you see Shelton just wheeling that car in the back of that group there, 4th place, and gotta be so frustrating. You just timed it just a little bit wrong and gave up what could have been a race victory here today.
Yeah, but right now he's gonna be ecstatic. He's gonna be very happy through the final corners. Eric Hutton's done pretty much everything right today, and out of the final corner, he sees the checkered flag in sight.
Eric Hutton comes out of turn 7. The checkered flag falls, and Eric Hutton wins at Watkins Glen.
And in second place, you have Joshua Banks, who's able to hold off the 22 of Mark Emerson's, who's been hanging out in the top 3 or the top 5 all day. And then we got Ryan Shelton in the 51, finishing up 4. Disappointing for him, I gotta imagine. But how about Jordan Ashland coming out of nowhere? Oh, you see the 36 of Butler sliding. Ashland's gonna come in 5th, Butler in 6th, and Stravato is actually gonna come. What happened to Bailey? Bailey Turner's all the way down in 10th.
Turner and all I know is that Turner and Butler were running side by side for a long time. We'll check that out after we go to commercial real quick.
Oh, but Stravato loose out of the corner, and he's going to take away 7th place.
And Jeremiah Vincent in that number 8 car.
Or not 7th place. Oh, that's 9th place. Sorry, our timing got mixed up here.
Yep, Jeremiah Vincent takes home a top 10. Bailey Turner will resume and actually will come home 12th place. So Turner must have gotten looped around. Well, again, we'll check on that post-race here and get an update for you on that 24 car. But Finian, what a turn of events there, those last couple laps. And here we go. This is going to be a little bit of disagreement's going to be happening here potentially. I don't think Banks is very happy with Eric Hutton.
Yeah, I can't blame him for that at all. I can imagine he's very mad as he pretty much just had a win yanked out of him. Didn't do anything too crazy, just kind of gave a little bit of a bump in disagreement.
Yeah, and so Eric Hutton will come out of turn 7. Another nudge there by the 13 car. Congratulatory or upset. It's always hard to tell.
But here comes the 88 of Eric Hutton. He's going to come to the start-finish line, and he's going to do some victory burnouts.
And he'll loop that car almost into the wall.
That was very close.
We'll nose it in and potentially just do the old-fashioned, get those tires looped up. And Eric Hutton will celebrate here at Watkins Glen. What a shot that is. And that number 88 National Guard car will celebrate in victory lane, and another push there from the 20. Everyone's running into him now. But celebratory smoke for that 88. But what a wild race here at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, it was amazing. We pretty much had a completely different winner 5 laps before the checkered flag came out. That was an exciting one to watch.
Eric Hutton, Joshua Banks, Emerson, Shelton, and Ashlyn, your top 5 here, Finney. And we'll run through the order here, and we're going to jump to break, grab a couple interviews. But what a race this was. 45 laps at the Glen. A lot of action, a lot of pushing and shoving, a lot of tempers flying, and a lot of people that are going to walk home and head back to the motor coach a little bit upset tonight.
Yeah, definitely this race and last night, too. A lot of tempers flying between both those races in 2 different series. So, what fantastic driving by these guys. Fantastic racing all night long.
And Chris Stover will bring home an 11th place finish as Bailey Turner will bring home 12th. Chris Gutierrez, of course, disappointing 16th place tonight for that 78 car. Andrew Schmier involved in a wreck. The 38 car will finish 17th here tonight. Stephen Turner looped off the carousel there, will come home in 18th. And rounding out the rest of your field, Andrew Telganoff and John Rodden will round out the end of that field. So again, Finian tonight, Watkins Glen, never a disappointing race in any series, but tonight Virtual Racing League put on a good show.
Yeah, again, exciting race to watch. A bunch of changes for position all night long. You pretty much never knew where anyone was going to end up at any point. And I can imagine that the 51 of Ryan Shelton's got to be disappointed after that. A win pretty much taken out of his hands at the end.
All right, we're going to jump to break real quick. We'll be back with your winner, Eric Hutton, and potentially a couple other interviews. We'll be right back. Stick with us. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back here to Watkins Glen International and the Virtual Racing League. We're here with race winner Eric Hutton. And Eric, it got a little exciting there in the closing laps. Tell us about your race and the eventual finish there that led you home to victory lane.
Yeah, it was a fun race. I thought it was a solid third place car or so. And made it through the first stage without incident, it seemed like. And then second stage, I was trying to do a little pit strategy, short pitting a little bit. And I happened to come in right with Joshua Banks. But so then managed to run him down. Unfortunately for his 51, he had a penalty. And when I got to the bumper of Joshua Banks, I was right on him going through the bus stop and didn't realize I kind of cut it in the grass. And I thought I was under him on a track, didn't realize I was in the grass. And so I just barely touched his bumper and it sent him around. So apologize to him about that. It's not how I want to win. So besides that, it was a good race and it was a lot of fun.
All right, Eric. Well, congratulations on that. But what does this do to your points battle? I mean, this obviously extends it. But did you walk in here kind of hoping that you could just kind of maintain your lead? Or was this more of a, let's go out here and take a victory?
Well, you know, you always try for the win. But going in here, I didn't really expect to be, you know, the top runner. And I wasn't at all. And it just happened to work out. So definitely it extends the points lead, which is nice. So kind of relax a little bit going into the next few races.
All right, Eric, thanks for talking to us. And that was an impressive performance you had there and kept yourself out of trouble for the most part. And congrats on that race victory.
I appreciate it. Thanks for the broadcast.
No problem. All right, we'll see if Mark Emerson is here. We'll unmute him because we got no waiting room here this week. Mark Emerson, driver the number 22, started out pretty well, but ended up coming home P3 with a pretty damaged race car. Tell us about your night.
Oh, yeah, I made a few mistakes, I should say. If I didn't make any of those mistakes, I probably would have been up there with Eric, if not in front of him. But kind of got into, I kind of screwed myself, is pretty much what happened there. Towards the late runs, I could tell the tires were just gone. Like the car was sliding everywhere, and then in the S's especially, like it just pushed right into that outside wall.
So talking about tire strategy here, we saw the 51 of Ryan Shelton try to pull a 2-tire strategy. Do you think that was something that would have worked out? Because we saw him holding off people for the most part, but it just seemed like it was too slick to avoid taking 4 tires.
Yeah, I'm not really sure because I never really tried it with 2 tires. It never came through my mind as a strategy that I could use. So definitely interesting. I don't know. I mean, he's fast. He was fast to begin with, so it could have worked for him, definitely.
All right, Mark. Well, thanks for talking to us. And podium finish for you. Not bad night for you. Have a good night.
You too.
All right, Joshua Banks, driver of the number 35 machine, and you were leading coming to a couple laps to go, and things just went south there at the exit of the bus stop. Tell us about your perspective on the things that happened there over there in the interloop. I don't have a copy on Josh. I'm not sure.
There we go.
Oh, there he is. Hey!
I couldn't hear. All right, we're good.
Did you hear my question, or do I got to repeat it?
Repeat it one more time.
Okay, gotcha. Well, we saw you leading with a couple laps to go there, and things just turned south at the exit of the interloop. Tell us your perspective on what happened.
Well, it went down to just failure of concentration. I went into the S curves, and I got the paddle shifters on my wheel, and for some reason, the right side likes to double shift for me. So it went from second to fourth, threw off my concentration going in the S curves. And when we went into the bus stop there, it just really threw off my concentration and allowed Eric to catch up. I was in VR2, so I had no idea. I mean, I had a gasp he was going to be close, but I didn't know he was going to be underneath, and it just tangled up. Hard race in there, and we're going to get him next week though, hopefully. So see what happens.
All right, well, certainly a positive outlook for Joshua Banks, driver number 35. Thanks for talking to us, and congrats. You still finished second. Good race for you.
Yeah, I ain't going to complain with that at all, and I appreciate that. Definitely not one of my best tracks, so able to come out second ain't bad at all.
All right, well, thank you again, and we'll see you later.
All right, buddy. Take it easy.
You too. All right, were we able to get a hold of Ryan Shelton, the 51?
No, he doesn't seem to be in the servers.
Oh, right. So Ryan Shelton, of course, rough finish for that driver, the number 51. And Finian, that strategy was looking so perfect until he had that pit penalty there with 5 laps to go.
Yeah, I would honestly argue that he pretty much had the race in hand, except for that pit row penalty. So it just comes to show you that you really do lose and win a race on pit road.
Thoughts on that interloop incident with a couple laps ago between Hutton and Banks?
I mean, yeah, it looks, in my opinion, I think Hutton probably could have been a little bit more off the back bumper of Banks and probably taken a little bit easy because they did have a few laps to go there. But, again, guys are just going to probably get into each other, and that's just hard racing at the end of the day. But nice to see that they're not holding too much of a grudge against each other, and they're both looking forward to next week.
All right, well, Virtual Racing League put on one heck of a show here at Watkins Glen International. Again, we're local folks we're down here in Binghamton, New York, a couple hours away, and always a fun event to broadcast from Watkins Glen International through the 2.5-mile road course. And 45 laps complete, Eric Hutton walks out on top, extends his points lead.
Yeah, so solid job by him at the end of the day, points-wise. He's doing a fantastic job. And what looked like was going to just be a simple third-place finish ended up being a win for him, so solid job.
All right, well, that'll be it for us for tonight for the Virtual Racing League. And again, a one-off here, but it's possible you might see us back in the future. So we'll just keep an eye out on the channel page and see what things come up. Tomorrow night, we have 3-wide truck series racing, Nathan Young Designs from Southern National. And then Monday, we're off. Tuesday, we're back with the Rigshare Fuel Cup Series at ISM Raceway. Wednesday, we're off. And then Thursday, Scars Ferrari Challenge from Laguna Seca. Friday, Hardline Cup Series finale. And that is going to be a good one from Atlanta. So we got a great week of racing coming up. Thanks for watching and sticking with us here tonight. I'm Kyle Herod with Finney and DeCuna from SimTV. Have a good night.